Hey guys, this is Eric Lucero
and Paul Berezetsky
of Sharpen the Axe on EnterTalk Radio, powered by Pitbull Audio. And we got a guest today with us, Mr. John Suhr of Suhr Guitars, Electronics, Amps, Pickups. I think you pretty much make everything, John.
Good. Try.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. So we have a couple of the new guitar models with us, as well as one of the new amps. Now, myself being a big offset guy, was very happy to see at NAMM that you guys have come out with an offset shape. Can you tell us what led to the development of the classic JM Pro?
Well, I've always loved the shape, but I've never really liked the playability. And I just really, I don't know, I kind of enjoy the standard bridge options that we normally have. I'm not a big fan of the Jazzmaster style bridge. So I just wanted to marry the two, marry something that felt comfortable and familiar to me as far as the setup goes. And then the shape I really enjoy, and it's got a different tone with a different body mass. And ergonomically, it's very comfortable. So I just decided it's time.
Nice, right on. And you guys have a few options with it. The one that we have in here, our Sonic Blue, has the S90s on it, but you do offer other pickup options on it, correct?
Yeah, we do two humbuckers as well. And there are other artist models that include a single hum, like the Ian Thornley signature. That also has some options of series parallel switching for the pickups.
Nice.
And there's also two bridges. There's the standard two-post 510, and then there's also the Tunematic, which is more of it's a locking Tunematic, Tone Pro, so it has a more mid-range content, a little bit more of a Gibson type of tone out of it.
Nice, yeah. And it's is it only rosewood fretboards on these, or are there maple options as well?
Well, we do custom Rs. But other than that, it's pretty much the Pro lines that are shipping that were at NAMM show.
Nice, right on. And you mentioned you have one of these in a signature model. You guys rolled out, was it 4 new signature models at NAMM?
Yeah, we've got one for Scott Henderson, Pete Thorne, Andy Wood, and Ian Thornley from Big Wreck. Nice,
and the Ian Thornley one is one you were describing that's pretty similar to the JM. Just has some customized switching. And a different pickup configuration.
Yeah, it has a 5-way pickup selector, whereas the other ones have 3-way.
Nice. Now, and I have in my hands here one of the Andy Woods, and to begin with, I love the style of finish on this, which you guys call it a torched. What is it? Torch satin finish on it. So how does how did you make this finish happen on it?
I think maybe Andy just liked kind of the look of a barn door or something, but it's I think it's a combination. It's kind of a combination of torching it and blasting it and trying to make it look weathered, basically. And then Andy kind of liked it in the yin and yang kind of flavors with the black and the red. I think that's his good and evil.
And they the finishes actually are two different configurations. The red one here has his signature, what are they, wood shop, I'm sorry, or?
The woodsheds? Yeah.
Woodshed pickups.
It's kind of an interesting story how we came across that. Back when I was at Fender, I had the task of rewinding a broken pickup for Les Paul, and it was on a Telecaster that Leo had given Les. And it died, and so they asked me when I was at the custom shop if I would rewind it for Les Paul. So I seemed quite an honor, so I very carefully took apart every single wind on that pickup and jotted it all down in my memory. So basically, the Andy's pickups, when he asked for more twang, I decided that would be the perfect pickup for him because it was a real vintage broadcaster type tone.
Wow.
That's basically what it is. Normally, our Tele pickups have a little bit more beef to them, so you could play anything. You could even play AC/DC on a normal Tele pickups, but Andy really wanted that country twang out of it. So it became his pickup. And the neck pickup is also tweaked a little bit as well to give a little more vibrance.
Wow. And it's the tries I've had with this guitar, I mean, it is definitely bright, snappy, and just breeds country sort of tonality with it. And the red also has the Wilkinson bridge, but the black with the two humbuckers comes with the Goto 510, right?
Yes. Solid saddle, steel block. We put a steel block in most of our 510 bridges.
Nice.
And that one also has thornbuckers.
Yes, it comes with thornbuckers. And both of them have the roasted maple necks, correct?
Yes.
So what does roasting the maple do for the construction and tone of the guitar?
Roasting kind of equalizes, to me, the wood and normalizes it. It bakes out all the impurities, all the sap, the resins, things that inhibit the neck from vibrating. It's a very small percentage of taking it towards charcoal, which also makes it very stable. So if you were to wet one side of the neck and not the other, normally you would have a situation where your neck would backbow. But on the roasted, it's pretty stable. We find much greater stability on that. You don't really need to adjust your truss rod that much at all. So it's not really, it's also very dimensionally stable. It's not going to shrink and expand. You're not going to get fret sprout and things like that.
So there is a good, legitimate reasons behind the roasting. It's not just a trend of any sort and nothing. And it's I've always heard that before, that the roasting makes it the neck stronger.
Well, I wouldn't say stronger. I would say more stable.
More stable, okay. Now, can you tell us about the other two signature models? Do you have Pete Thorne has one now?
Yeah, we've got two Pete Thornes. One of them is a gold top, which is more of an old gold, really nice color that Pete was very particular about finding the right style of Les Paul type gold. And then we also have another one that's black with a cherry back. The gold one has a trans brown back, but they're both genuine mahogany bodies, and with thornbuckers, obviously, with the raw nickel covers. And he liked the look of having rings around it, so it's one of our only guitars. It is our only guitar that we pick up rings around the humbuckers.
Oh, nice. A little aesthetic choice. And he also has a signature amp, I believe, as well, right?
Yeah, he does, the PT100.
Nice.
So.
And moving into the amps, we have with us today a Badger 18 head. Now, I understand the Badger series was your original amp line, correct?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it original. Probably the original amp line was the custom audio amps that I did with Bob Bradshaw. And then later I became the manufacturer for them. The Badger was the first amp I designed after we started the new company, because most of the OD100 was designed before I started Suhr Guitars.
Nice. So what have been the design changes between 2006 and now?
In Pete Thorne's amp, one of the things I did is I've been playing around with high voltage MOSFETs, and they're really nice to use in front of the amp because they're very tube-like. They run around 300 volts on the B+. So it really gives you this dynamic swing that you can't get out of most pedals. It's like kicking in a tube. And that works so well in front of Pete's amp that I decided to try and put it in front of the Badger, because some people wind up misusing the controls on the Badger to try and get it to be gainier. So this way they don't really have to do that. They've got the built-in high-voltage MOSFET boost right in. There is actually an internal trim pod if somebody wanted to go tweak it as well. And it's pretty silent switching when you kick it in, which was pretty much a pain in the ass to make that work, but it works very nicely now.
Well, definitely, silent boost circuits are always a wonderful thing. Now, I was wondering if you could explain to us how the power scaling works in the Badger.
Sure. The Badger has a power scaling, which is licensed by London Power, and there's many, many different ways to implement the actual circuitry and which parts of the amplifier it affects. I had almost given up on it years ago and just decided that other options were better. And then I came across a combination of what on that amp is called the drive control, which is essentially pretty much a master volume. In conjunction with the power scaling, I was really able to get the amp to feel very natural at very low volumes. You know, a lot of amps can sound great at low volumes, but they don't feel like you're really working the amp. So on the power scaling that I do, I only drop the voltage. It's an adjustable voltage of the output section. And the amp is pretty much a Class A. It's cathode bias, not, you know, a little bit Class A, but the cathode bias makes it very forgiving on the voltage that's supplied to the power section. So when you lower that power section voltage, you're dropping your wattage and you're lowering the amount of headroom the output section has as well. So the problem with that is that if you hit that output section just as hard as you did when it was 18 watts, as now we've got it dialed down to 1 watt, which is still pretty loud, you'll start to squish the output section unnaturally. So if you are a fan of like an old Neil Young tone, this can actually be a great advantage because you can get that kind of fizzy EL84-ish output section that's kind of crapping out on you, and it's kind of almost desirable. I know Ian Thornley, one time I told Ian Thornley that I was going to combine the two controls to make them easier for people so they didn't have to think about which one did what. And Ian was like, no way, don't touch it. I like being able to push the drive hot and really to get the amp to the power section to get, you know, a little snotty and vintage sounding. So what I recommend people do, though, is they start with the power on 10 and think of the drive as a master volume. So start with it up around full or 3/4, and that's the natural sound of the amp. As you turn down the power, if you want to maintain the tone, but at a lower volume, it's important to turn down the drive relative as well. Now, it's all going to depend on whether or not you're using where you have the drive set or whether you have the boost in or how hot your guitar is. But I like to tell people that if it sounds fizzy, turn down the drive control until it sounds natural, and that's the sweet spot. But it's going to really depend on so many other factors. This kind of puts you in the driver's seat of getting the feel and the response. Like, for instance, you could take a Telecaster and with weak pickups, and you could push the drive up higher than the power if you want, and it's going to sound good. But if you've got a Les Paul, like Steve Stevens would run the drive down. Like, he'll turn the power up, and maybe he'll put the drive down to half, and that'll be a tighter sound.
Gotcha. So it's not trying to fake a 100 watts at or that kind of idea of trying to get 100 watts fitting into 1 watt. It's more for dynamics and response, as you were saying.
Well, the power scaling is a very natural way of lowering your volume to reasonable club volumes or reasonable bedroom volume, because even an 18 watt, we all know, can be still pretty loud. The power scaling is just something that I felt sounded better than any power attenuators or anything else. Any other way of trying to drop your volume is a very graceful way of doing it, and also the amp runs cooler when you turn it down. So unlike taking an amplifier and blasting it into an attenuator where the amp is cranking, but the attenuator is absorbing all the heat and the power scaling, actually your amp runs cool. So the lower you turn down that power, the cooler your amp is running, and the tubes really are just cruising. So you really get all the dynamics and the response of a cranked amp, but at a very low volume.
Nice. So it's a very versatile amp. And I mean, you also have a tube buffered effects loop on it, and you can switch the ohms on it to fit any cabinet. I'm really impressed by the Badger. It's a very versatile amp.
Yeah, that is a new feature of, besides the MOSFET boost, we also put DC heaters in all the Badgers now, which makes it very forgiving on the quality of the 12AX7s you use, or the preamp tubes. And we also offer a new version which has this graphite Tolex on it. And we put standby switches on the 18 where they didn't used to have them. And we also put the impedance selector for 4, 8, and 16 on all the amps.
Nice. So it can fit any cab. And there is I believe the other version of the Badger is 30 watts?
We have an 18, a 30, and a 35.
And are they all heads, or is there combo variations available?
That's a good question. I don't know if we're still doing any combos. Most people just always grab the head and cabinet. So it's been the primary thing lately.
Nice. Keep it simple, right? And
yeah.
Is there any other new amps going to be released, say, at Summer NAMM, or anything else cooking in that respect?
Well, every time I do that kind of thing, I get myself in trouble. So I don't think anything's happening at Summer NAMM. We pretty much focus on the NAMM show in Anaheim, which is this past year is the first time we've been back in a bunch of years.
Nice. You avoided it for a little bit?
Well, we were doing factory parties, and the factory parties wound up getting so big, and at this point we're kind of getting a shift to just trying to broaden our market and bring more product to NAMM. So it seemed like the right place to do that was at NAMM show. Plus, we're not that far away anyway, but the parties kind of turned into just a big party and not so much as an event where we could show the product to the dealers. And, I'm sure it's like when you go to NAMM show, you really don't want to leave for an hour to go somewhere. You're kind of stuck at the show. So
yeah.
So we decided to come back home.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to leave for some of the other off-site events at NAMM, but so it's definitely nice to have it everyone under one roof sometimes.
Yeah.
So aside from the signature artists for your guitars and amps, are there any other notable artists out there touring with Suhr?
There's a lot. There's Mateus Asado. You know what? You caught me off guard. I probably have to go Google it at this point. I'm also doing a little bit of work with Marcus Miller. I'm planning on doing some more basses.
Oh wow!
Lots of exciting stuff coming up soon.
Nice, yeah, and it's. Your guitars are well renowned, as your effects and amps. I think some people forget that you guys do build basses. Yeah,
and funny enough, that was one of my biggest parts of my career back in New York. I made basses for Victor Bailey, and then when I worked at Fender, I made some pretty crazy 35-inch scales, 6-string and 5-string basses for Wayman Tisdale, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was a great bass player. But yeah, I love basses. In fact, when I started playing, I wanted to be a bass player and not a guitar player. But the local music store convinced my mother when I was 16 that you had to learn how to play guitar before you could play bass. Bass was just an extension of guitar. There's no reason to take bass lessons.
Our producer of the show, who's a bass player, didn't seem to be pleased with
disagrees.
it. Yeah.
Well, I hope you could see the smile on my face. They were so wrong, it was unbelievable. But I did originally I really loved the lines of Paul McCartney and Felix Pappalardi and Jack Bruce, and I just loved how the bass intertwined in the music, and that was my passion in the beginning. But I wound up picking up guitar and just never put it down. But I still love bass. It's still in my heart, and I won't forget about bass players. It's just there's so many cooks there's so many things in the fire right now. It's just a matter of your bandwidth.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much the only engineer, plus my son. My son is now working with us too, and he's doing all the pedals.
Oh wow, nice! It's very rare in this industry these days that you really do have a true family business, especially on the R&D side of things. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a monopoly now. There's 3 of us in R&D. One of them has been at Fender for many years, and he's a good old friend, Seiki Go. And then I got my son, Kevin. Kevin did the Eclipse. He also did the new Ace, and he's got a lot of very exciting things coming up in the near future.
I'll be excited to check out what Kevin does. And that's the cabinet simulator, the Ace, is one of the... It hasn't quite arrived at Pitbull Audio yet. We're going to have to get him in, but
Is it a lot of that like the home recording trends, I guess. I don't know if I want to quite use that word, that has led to the necessity for a lot of companies to be putting out cabinet simulators?
Yeah, I started off with a passion for something I believed in, which was the reactive load. The reactive load tricks your amp into thinking it's seeing a real speaker. It has pretty much an identical impedance curve to a 4x12 with greenbacks. So if somebody's using IRs, if you're familiar with that technology, impulse responses, and they're doing home recording, along with the plugins and IRs like from Celestion and Ownhammer and Red Wires, you can pretty much get a much better tone than you're going to be able to get out of any or most home studios, unless you're really a mic and freak and you've got your studio well set up. Plus the fact you can do it in silence. So you can just sit there at your computer and record. So my son has always been a little bit frustrated by IRs, where he just kind of felt like he was going through hundreds of them to find the one that he liked. And funny enough, he likes digital, but he's really into analog. Analog, he just loves analog these days. And so everything that he's going to be coming out with is analog, and it could be digitally controlled as he's doing programming as well, but he likes the analog signal path. So he, out of his own frustration, developed the Ace, which is kind of a blend of some of his favorite IRs, but a very, very complex filter, and it's in the analog world, and that's why he calls it an Ace, for an analog cabinet simulator. And we really spent a lot of time listening to every other product we could on the market to make sure that it was better than anything else we could find. And he just there was no compromises, no cuts in what he did with that box. So it's for the person who doesn't want to deal with an IR, who doesn't know what an IR is, and you can also use it to go straight to the house when you're playing live. If you don't use a reactive load, you can just go take another speaker out, or you can go through it and go right to the house, and they can just turn it up right there. That way you don't have any bleed from other instruments on stage. Or you could blend it with a mic. If you want to blend, you can have a lot of different tones.
So it's quite a versatile box, even outside of the recording world. It has plenty of uses in live situations as well.
Absolutely, especially if you're that guy who just doesn't like hanging a mic in front of your amp, or that you find that the drums bleed in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, you have a bit of a long history in the industry, and you've mentioned working with Fender. So where else did you work before you founded Suhr?
The first store right after I was a cook, the first store was Rudy's Music Stop on 48th Street, and that's where I designed and built Mark Knopfler's guitars. I did work for Peter Frampton and Jamie West Orm from The Fix, and Lou Reed, and actually Frampton actually became one of our investors when we started this company.
Oh wow!
But I was a guitar geek like everybody else, and I wasn't really doing this as a career. I was doing it because I needed a way to make money and live in New York. And I purchased a Bradshaw rack, and I started getting deep into the electronics of the Bradshaw, studied, cracked my books, went to the library all the time, set up a little workshop so I could work on amplifiers, and started to incorporate some of my designs into my Bradshaw rack, which was like 22 spaces tall, full front and back, quite a monster. And Bob Bradshaw kind of liked what I was doing, and he talked me into designing a three-channel preamp. He wound up selling so many of those that he said I had to come out to California to help him. So I came out California. Lukather was using them with Mike Landau, and that was the 3+ preamp from Custom Audio Electronics. Then I worked there for about 3 years, was looking for a security, had a new baby, which is now my electrical engineer, Kevin, and got offered a job at Fender as a senior master builder. So Jay Black and I were senior master builders at Fender, and I worked there for about 3 years until I just decided I wanted to go back to doing it myself. And that's when we started Suhr in 1997.
Well, that's
quite a pedigree there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about 20-year anniversary right here.
Nice. Yeah, congrats on the 20th anniversary. That's yeah, I'm still stuck on that pedigree beforehand. So I just have to ask, what was it like getting to work with Lou Reed? And if I may ask, what did you build for him?
Lou Reed, we were a Schecter custom shop back in the days when Schecter was really quite an amazing parts company. And actually, Tom Anderson used to work there, Pat Wilkins, who's another painter, builder. But that's how we started is basically being a kit builder at Rudy's, because obviously we didn't really have much room for machinery there. But Lou was an interesting guy. You know, it's each artist I've dealt with over the years has been really interesting and fun to deal with. Peter Frampton and I are still very good friends. And it's I don't know what to say about Lou. You know, it's like Lou is Lou. He used to come in to the shop and pick up a guitar and crank up the amp, and the Jim Kelly amps usually is what he played through back then, and he would just basically blow everybody out of the store. He'd play so loud.
And from what I've read about him, he used to be very, very picky about tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I guess everybody hears something different, but you know, Lou. I never really had any complaints from Lou. You know, he usually went with some pretty traditional woods and shapes, and he was fun to deal with. It's kind of funny. One time we got into an argument about intonation, and I was just basically telling him that I made him sit down and do his own intonation, because I said, you know, maybe you and I just play differently, and so you're going to have to do your own intonation. And so we kind of got in almost a little fight there, because he didn't want to do it, and I wanted him to sit down, and I wanted to teach him how to do it himself, because everybody plays their guitar differently and has a little different feel. So he got into a little thing, and he kind of told Rudy that I was being rude to him. And Rudy didn't want me to spend a lot of time talking to Lou, but Lou loved to call me up and talk all the time. So I was kind of in a catch-22, and I kind of talked to Lou, and I said, Lou, why are you getting me in trouble? You know, I'm trying to help you out with everything you want to do here, and you go and complain to Rudy, and then Rudy comes upstairs and starts screaming at me. And Lou was like, well, I'm sorry. And the next day I got a bouquet of flowers and a fruit basket.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little strange, but he was a nice guy, you know, rest his soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had gotten to see him live before he passed, but that's incredible.
Yeah.
Looks like we're getting pretty close to the end of our segment here. John, thank you so much for joining us and explaining the new gear and telling us some pretty awesome stories here.
Very mind expanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem.
And again, it's looks like we might have some pedals to look forward to, and yeah, we'll definitely have you back when you guys have something new to show.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling in, John.
No worries. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We would like to thank John Suhr once again for joining us and telling us about the gear and sharing some very cool stories. And this next segment, please stay tuned. We're going to check out the gear itself, test everything out. I've been Eric Lucero.
And I'm Paul Berezetsky.
On Sharpen the Axe, powered by EnterTalk Radio, sponsored by Pitbull Audio. Stay tuned. Hey guys, this is Eric Lucero.
And Paul Berezetsky.
And this is another episode of Sharpen the Axe, powered by EnterTalk Radio, sponsored by Pitbull Audio. And today it is a all Suhr episode, pretty much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We got two of their new guitars, two of their effects, and the newly redesigned Badger 18 head here. John Suhr has been in the industry a long time before even founding Suhr Guitars in 97?
90 something, yeah.
Yeah, 90, somewhere towards the end of the 90s. Friends was still on at the time, that's when. But yeah, he's builds amazing instruments, guitars and basses, designs killer pedals, amps, of course, and makes a lot of popular pickups, too. At Pitbull Audio, we sell quite a bit of Thornbuckers and SSHs and SSV pickups. But do you have much experience with Suhr instruments?
No, this is a new experience for me.
Nice, right on. Well, yeah, I didn't get to try most of these except for the Classic Pro JM in your hands until we got here to the show, except the pedals. But if we roll into it, let's start with what you got in your hands. That is the new Classic. There we go. It is the new Classic. I'll wait until it's done playing.
Pretty good.
Okay, cool. It is a new Classic JM Pro. It is the offset body design by them. It's got a alder body, maple neck, rosewood fretboard, S90 pickups in there, and a Godot 510 bridge. It also has the I always get this wrong, the SSC2 active noise cancellation system.
That's right.
Which is why there's a little battery on there. It's a noise cancellation system that allows single coils to be just as quiet as can be.
Yeah, I've turned all the way up right now, not hearing any buzz.
Yeah, nothing at all. It's I'm turned down on mine right here, and listen to that beautiful silence.
And unlike an active pickup system, if this battery goes dead on you, the hum just comes back, but you don't lose signal.
Yeah, you don't. There's not even a gap, nothing at all. It just keeps on going, which is real nice. And it's us in the shop at Pitbull Audio really did fall for this one in particular. We're all big P90s fans, well, most of us at the shop, and we were just stunned by how quiet it is. But you still get all the punch and bark that you normally would get out of P90s.
Yeah.
The Classic JM Pro here goes for $2,195. It's also got a compound radius fretboard, 10 to 14 inch. It's just a great sounding amp. Yeah, why don't you give us a preview of what it sounds like there? Nice. And let's see what it sounds driven, actually. We got the Shiba drive in front of us here. I'll turn the tone up a little. Nice. So it's well. How do you feel about the pickups and the sound so far, Paul?
Really responsive, very very playable, really very smooth, smooth neck.
I believe that has a satin finish on the back of that neck too, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's just like on the Andy Wood signature in my hand. I'm really starting to love the feel of these satin finish necks.
Yeah, for sure. But very comfortable, natural feeling right away.
Nice. Could you give us a taste of the bridge position there? I've actually, due to Suhr, I have grown to really like the Godot 510 bridge that's on it. It's very stable, just killer sounding.
Yeah, and also very responsive and can do really subtle little.
Nice, yeah. It's I mean, if you want to have a vibrato bridge, I mean, you want some dynamic response, and it's providing it for you?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. That's the Classic JM Pro from Suhr, and it is $2,195, and that is Sonic Blue with the S90 pickup configuration and the vibrato bridge. It's definitely a shop favorite. You can check it out at pitbullaudio.com. Now I'll move on to what we have in my hands right here. This is the Andy Wood signature model, one of the two different variations. It's got a swamp ash body that has a really cool finish. They call it torch satin. They sort of roast the body so the grain becomes exaggerated, and then it's got a
rather thin nitro finish. So these you can actually physically feel the grain all over the body. It's really cool. I love the feel of it. This variation, there's the black with silverish pickguard and this red with the anodized gold pickguard here. This version has the Wilkinson bridge, 3 brass saddles, the woodshed pickups, which are a signature set for Andy Wood. Both the models have the roasted maple neck and fretboard, and the SC. Actually, no. I don't think this has the SC. I keep forgetting all the abbreviations for that noise canceling system, but still, it is incredibly snappy, and it is just built for country, which Andy Wood is known for. He plays guitar in Rascal Flatts, and he's been a sideman for Sebastian Bach and a couple other folks. And I gotta say, he put together one awesome instrument.
Why don't you show off that the cool sporty cutaway there?
Oh yes, yeah, that's another great feature that I'm glad you mentioned. It's got a very great cutaway and here for if you're playing up the fretboard. I mean, you go up there, it's just comfort. It just fits the hand perfectly. It's really well built, well designed. Let's see what it sounds like.
Nice.
Wrong chord at the end there, but still rather nice. But it does have that. Definitely has a certain brightness and snap to it. It's turned the drive off. It's I always, not that I have a difficult time with tele-style guitars, but there's sometimes where I'm not sure how I feel about the pickups, but this is, even for being more brighter and snappier than your usual guitar of this sort of style, it's actually rather nice. I definitely dig this. Let's turn up the Sheba drive again. I forgot what song I was going to try to play, but is definitely a killer instrument. A lot of unique features on it. This one here goes for $3,495. I believe both models are the same price. And the other model, the black and with the silvery anodized pickguard, has 2 thornbuckers and the 510 bridge that's on the vibrato bridge that's on the JM over there. And they are both wonderful instruments. They caught my eye as soon as they came into Pitbull Audio, and they're just fantastic. Definitely props to John Suhr and Andy Wood for creating this. Now, we've been playing through our next device to check out here, and that is the Badger 18 amp head. This is a single channel amp. It's 18 watts, and the front panel here, aside from your off, on, and standby switches, you got the power scaling controls, which is a power and drive. You got a bass, middle, and treble for your EQ. We've been keeping them at noon here, and the drive at the gain, at the end. And you also have one of the new features that was part of the redesign that they showed off at NAMM was the MOSFET boost right at the input stage. So let's flip between them. I'll turn the drive off.
on the bridge pickup right now?
I'm on the bridge pickup, yes, the woodshed bridge.
Yeah, the rhythm sounds awesome.
Right?
Through this amp with that guitar.
Oh, the rhythm pickup?
No, just the like rhythm, the way the chords ring out.
Oh, yeah, if you're doing rhythm sort of playing, yeah, absolutely. This thing is, again, that sort of bright attack plays in well here, and you want to get a little more bass response out of it to fill, but still have that rhythm punch. This is a great combination right here. Now, let's flip the boost and see what that sounds like. It does give it a nice a kick in the front, and John told us as well that there is an internal trim pot to adjust the boost if you want to.
Very cool.
But it's pretty neat, and that MOSFET boost is also foot switchable. The amp does come with the foot switching cable for that. So some other features while we're on it is the ohm input selector on the back. You could go between 4, 8, and 16. It has a 2-buffered effects loop. It's just a very impressively versatile amp and quite a bit of tone for just 18 watts. What's been your thoughts on it so far?
Really digging it, yeah. With that the boost switch, you kind of get that something starting to melt down on stage kind of raunchiness. I like it.
Yeah. The MOSFET is, as was explained to us by John, is one of the more natural ways to get a drive sound out. It's pretty similar to a tube setup, which is why MOSFET drives have been popular for quite a while. But I'm actually really digging this head. It's lightweight. I think it's somewhere just north of 30 pounds. It's not terribly oversized, and it's pretty awesome. It looks fantastic as well. And this amp goes for $1,750. It's also available in a 30 watt or 35 watt configuration as well. But yeah, I've definitely been having some fun testing this out, and let's really drive it up here.
Very nice.
So, right, yeah, it's you can get it's a more versatile than you would think with that MOSFET boost being on board and foot switchable. You could kind of set the internal trim pot for that to really kick high, keep it at relatively clean, and almost have a false 2-channel amp almost.
Right. Yeah.
And even just I backed out on the drive here and the tone, and given this is a brighter than usual guitar, but still with the boost on, it had that nice front end raunch to it, hitting the preamp section, and also the preamp tubes are 12AX7, 3 of them, and it's 2 EL84s in the power section. Which I should also mention the power scaling, which is John is going to explain it quite well in our interview segment, but it allows you to. How do we explain this? I'm kind of bad with this kind of technical explanation sometimes, but it's almost like being able to scale down the output voltage from the full 18 down to 1 watt if you want, and then control the drive hitting it, so you can sort of lower the headroom, drive it, and really get a higher gain sound out of it. It's very useful for recording or for setting your amp for a smaller club, small to medium club or venue if you can't have it wide open as much as we want, right?
Yep.
But yeah, that's the Badger 18 head. They're available at Pitbull Audio, and if you want to get the 30 or 35 watt, let us know. We have had 2 drive pedals, or 2 pedals here. One of them's a drive. The first one is the Sheba drive, which has been around for a while from Suhr. It's been a great seller. They even have a signature version for what's his name, Kiko from Megadeth. But let's give this one a shot. It's got drive, tone, and level controls, and a smooth switch in the middle, which kind of rolls off high end in a middle is open, less pronounced high end roll off, more pronounced high end roll off, so you can kind of match it with pickups. So let's turn the boost off there. And how about you go ahead and play at the clean? let's set it with noon. Now, if you keep on playing the riff, I'll show where the drive range is. So it's kind of a mid-rangey drive, but it's actually quite useful, especially you can kind of tailor its response a little bit with that smooth switch. Like in a single close like I have, I'd probably turn it to the left, or if I really want a higher pronounced roll-off, something, if I happen to have some super bright pickups in there, all the way to the right. But it's, again, it pushes an amp nicely. It can function as its own drive as well if you don't want to use it to push an amp. But
what is there's a little switch on the back here that you guys probably can't see, but
yeah, it's to be honest, I don't know. I know there is a link system for the pedals, which I believe that is part of, because there's another jack, sort of a 1/8 inch sort of size back there, which, you know what, they're going to have to do a whole episode on the pedals and the linking, and have John back to explain that to us. And we also have another pedal from the Suhr line, and that is the Jack Rabbit Tremolo. This is a pretty killer, feature-packed tremolo unit. You got controls for rate, level, depth, 5 different wave shapes to choose from, and you have subdivisions here for a quarter, 8, and I think it's triplet. Yeah, triplet 8th notes. But it's a surprisingly versatile tremolo that I don't think a lot of people who are into this kind of effect really look for. But here, let's turn it on. I'm going to set it to about medium depth, about a quarter of the way up for rate. I was actually, before we go into all the wave shapes, I was actually surprised at how fast that rate's width was, or how wide its width was.
Yeah.
It goes pretty slow, but that went much farther beyond in speed than I thought it would. It almost gets ring modulator-y, or it almost seems to have a weird, almost phasing sort of thing. Now for the, we have the subdivision, by the way, on quarter note, but we have 5 different wave shapes. We got sine, square, triangle, reverse ramp, and ramp. So I'm going to set it pretty deep so it's exaggerated, and we'll go between the different. This is on sine. Now square. Now triangle. stuff. Absolutely.
That's great.
Now I was curious about this reverse ramp. Nice. That's different. I like that. I also like that the LED there gives you your rate. Oh, wow. Oh, that I'm very intrigued by that. Now let's try the regular ramp. Nice. I really like the two ramp settings. That's just something different that I never would have tried to think of or aim for in another tremolo pedal. And there's a nice variety on the market these days. But yeah, that alone right there, the two ramp settings and the triangle, which was, as you were noting, is quite good for atmospheric stuff. But let's turn on the drive. Like that
cool.
The reverse ramp, it's so machine-like.
Uh-huh. Start composing things around this effect.
Right? Yeah. It is one of those effects, especially the two I keep mentioning the two ramp settings that like you want to find something to use them for.
Yeah.
Which is a sign of a good pedal. Any piece of gear really that makes you want to try something different or makes you approach its use in a different way.
Yeah.
Always a positive thing. Any thoughts on any of the gear we've been trying out today?
Nothing I haven't liked.
Yes, John Suhr and his team do make really good products, and we're glad to have been able to check out a lot of their newest wares. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Eric Lucero.
And I'm Paul Berezetsky.
This has been another episode of Sharpen the Axe, powered by EnterTalk Radio, sponsored by People Audio. Thank you guys very much. Thanks for watching.